The Bitcoin Group, the American original. For over the last 10 seconds, the sharpest Satoshis, the best Bitcoins, the hardest cryptocurrency talk. We'd like to welcome our panelists. Andy Hoffman from Crypto Gold Central.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. My first appearance on the Bitcoin Group. I'm so happy.
Lee Camp from Redacted Tonight.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. I'll be the idiot of the group and you can explain things to me.
Tone Vase from Liberty Life Trail.
Hey guys, it feels like my first time on the Bitcoin Group since it's been so long, but great to be back.
Jeffrey Jones from the Bitcoin News Show.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
And I'm Thomas Hunt from the World Crypto Network. Moving on to issue 1, Bitcoin's week of bad news. There was nothing but bad news for Bitcoin this week, with the SEC warning about unregulated exchanges, as well as cryptocurrencies being regulated by Commodities to the CFTC, and Japan cracking down on their regulations. Meanwhile, Mt. Gox has been selling more than $400 million in Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, and he's not done yet. Andy Hoffman, which one of these events do you think affected the price most, and are you worried about the price in the future?
Well, I think that all that other stuff is immaterial. In fact, every time we hear something about a government, everyone gets crazy. But the fact that the U.S. government would consider regulating exchanges, which need regulation, really is not even bad news in the first place. Like, who cares? It really, the only real story here to me is Mt. Gox. And I think it's a gigantic story because as it came out, let alone that it came out as the Japanese are talking about regulating exchanges and the US is talking about regulating exchanges. And then you look back at how they were selling 35,000 Bitcoin at these extremely strategic points, not by auction, which is absolutely insane. I mean, when you're in Wall Street, if you had the big overhang and you went to you'd go to a dealer and say, hey, I got the big overhang, you could have probably sold the whole thing at $20,000. Instead, they are strategically knocking the price down. And it makes me think that they probably are doing more. And so initially people get scared and they panic and they sell thinking there's more coming. But eventually the big whales out there are going to realize the price is artificially suppressed and they're going to come in and overwhelm this guy if he's not done already. So to me, all the other stuff is FUD, just like the South Korean stuff was FUD when the price was falling back in January. But to me, this Mt. Gox story is going to be something that ultimately is going to provide rocket fuel for Bitcoin.
I agree, Andy. It's shocking that they didn't do OTC trades. It might even be a breach of their fiduciary duty.
Might be a breach. It's a breach. They're going to be sued.
Well, Japanese laws are different. We'll have to see. Lee Camp, your thoughts on Bitcoin's bad week?
Well, like I said, I'm going to be the idiot of the group here because I know some stuff about Bitcoin and I've studied it to some extent, but I don't keep up to the day to day. But I'll speak in a little bit broader terms. I think that as threatening as Bitcoin is to our current currency markets and to how our societies are set up, anybody should expect this. Like, anybody should expect that governments are going to do everything they can at some point, once it gets threatening enough, to try and stop it, to try and stop the natural, global, and democratic nature of it. And so it doesn't shock me, and I think that it will continue. But that doesn't mean that it can't continue to change the world. But they're going to put every hurdle in front of it that they can.
I agree. People say replacing government currency with Bitcoin. Did you really think it would be this easy?
Right.
No, it didn't. Tone Vase.
Yeah, I pretty much second what Andy said, and it's really interesting how you closed out saying they will probably get sued over this. The irony is they might get sued by the same Mt. Gox holders that they are liquidating on behalf of, because they're literally dropping their own the price of Bitcoin that they're now holding with the Bitcoin that they thought they had lost beforehand, right? So it just creates this really weird dynamic. And yeah, it's really bad. And the thing is, we found out about it after it's all been sold, and hopefully that the government of Japan, I mean, I don't blame the person selling them, right? He's a government employee. He was told to sell it. And if he starts, to think for himself and actually go out and sell it in a way that they didn't expect, he can be fired over it. So I don't blame the employee. I blame that entire process that they didn't consult with experts on how to, give people back their money. They could have just given people back the Bitcoin they could have chosen a day. They could have said, hey, so we're going to choose this day. The price of Bitcoin is 15,000 or whatever. It looks like they picked a damn good day to start selling. Why couldn't they just give all of that Bitcoin back to those people on that day when it was worth $20,000, or that second day? They could have, that's what they really should have done. I also agree that is the big news. But what happens is when you are in a down market, it's like the bad news tends to snowball and it builds on itself. There's never one catalyst. It's a culmination of things, and hopefully it's over and we can start to go back up and confidence starts to come back.
And I don't want to throw in conspiracy theories, but man, I mean, if there's one government out there that I have all along.
Oh, and he was going to a conspiracy theory and they cut him off. I assume he was going to say that Japan was somehow. But yeah, let's move on here. Jeffrey Jones, do you think it was better off? Should they have just left these Bitcoin underneath Karpellis's cat?
That would have probably been a good idea. No, yeah, it's been a crazy week for news. I mean, the Mayer multiple, it was under 1.0. So, I mean, that is a definite signal to buy, right? So I think that kind of signals that we're pretty much at the bottom. And again, just to remind everybody, we have a traditional correction around this time every single year for the past 4 or 5 plus years straight. But obviously getting double goxed, right, didn't really help anything with the price. And as Tone said, it absolutely is a culmination of multiple things. Of course, as usual, every single, tweet from CoinDesk or whatever is going to be like, the price is falling on this news and the price is rising on this news, because they have to sell clicks. So you guys just make sure you realize that it's never any one thing. As Tone said, it is always a catalyst of multiple things. So that's very important to understand. And I like what Lee said too, that despite the price going down, Bitcoin is still going, right? Bitcoin is still producing a block every 10 minutes. Bitcoin is still continuing to change the world. Nothing can stop that, not even the price. Bitcoin will still work like it does at $1 or $10,000, right? So that so the long-term hodlers, of course, as usual, are mostly unaffected. But yeah, this is a pretty crazy week. As Tone said, it really does exacerbate when the volume. When we have a huge sell, the volume tends to really snowball much more than when we have a huge buy. So when we have all this when we're already in a bear market, we had a bunch of this bad news. It does tend to increase that volume and snowball. But we have just like we have in the past, bounced off this 200-day moving average. We'll see if it holds or not. But so far, it has been holding pretty good. And there's other things too, like the tax refund, right? People are kind of waiting for their taxes. I'm sure that they're selling for taxes and things like that. So there's all sorts of a myriad of different things happening right now. But as always, guys, if you hodl, you're good to go.
Just one quick thing, because I recently someone sent me these 2 screenshots, and Kraken, who was involved in the whole Mt. Gox post-disaster, and Mark Karpellis himself, they both warned not to sell these coins in the open market. It's not like they weren't advised to not do this, and now look at the backlash that they're getting.
It's unbelievable to be goxed again. Moving on to the exit question. The price of Bitcoin this time next week, higher or lower? Andy Hoffman.
Absolutely higher, because I think his word about this whole Mt. Gox thing is going to spread. And again, you get an initial reaction and people sell, and then they realize that the price has been artificially suppressed. It's not because of a fundamental factor. And then you throw in the fact that there's absolutely everything positive fundamentally going on in Bitcoin, more so than ever in its history. So I have full confidence that what we just saw the other day is going to be another, hopefully, permanent bottom.
Lee Camp.
I mean, my guess would be that it's up next week, because it does get past these bumps that have been thrown this week. If you don't mind being the ignorant one of the group, I'd also like to pose a question while the rest of you answering this question. I want to know how confident you guys are that Bitcoin remains the most used cryptocurrency and highest valued one long term. Like, does it seem like that nobody really knows, or does it seem like Bitcoin will continue to remain on top?
Sure, we can put that out to the panel, but I think we have a. Sorry, you have to mute you. I think we have a panel of maximalists here. So, Tone, go ahead.
I'm just going to answer it quickly. I'm about as confident as I am that the internet is not going to have a competitor anytime soon.
Tone, on the price?
As far as the price goes, I'm looking at the chart right now, and the daily candle is about to close. I'll show the chart at the end of the show, but I'm starting to get bullish as well for next week. This is a pretty good turnaround over the last 24 hours. And if you force me on the spot higher or lower a week from today, I'm going to have to say higher right now.
All right, Jeffrey Jones.
Yep. Remember, guys, I mean, every time we have these dips, so many coins go into cold storage. So many coins get taken off the market. We just recently did have a huge $93 million buy or some ridiculous number, of thousands and thousands of coins. So just keep that in mind, guys. Yeah. So I think that it all depends on how we close this weekly candle, but I am confident that we can bounce now off this 9,200 once the Gox news goes everywhere, and if we close this weekly candle at a decent price, then yeah, we're looking bullish next week. So I'm going to say higher.
And what do you think about Lee's question, Jeff?
Oh, sorry. So real quick, yeah, basically, as Tone said, that Bitcoin really does represent the internet of money. We all have to agree on one single protocol, like we did with TCP/IP, in order to really create this internet of money. And so there's going to be a bunch of competitors, just like there were back in the old days for TCP/IP. But eventually, one wins out, and usually it's the most open source, most robust, with the best developers. And so that's kind of what we're seeing with Bitcoin as well.
Yeah, Jeff's on the right track here. It's TCP/IP. It bends, but it doesn't break. They didn't think we could do email attachments. They didn't think we could do video streaming. TCP/IP was improved to have all of those things. Bitcoin isn't just the brand name like Band-Aid or Kleenex. Bitcoin has the technology, as we see with the Rootstock smart contracts coming in soon, the Lightning Network Layer 2 solutions, the side chains. All of these together show that technologically, Bitcoin is the one. Price, money, all those things, I don't know, but I'm with the technology. Andy?
Can I say how confident I am? I'm as confident as Superman is the only superhero on the planet. If you ask me, do you think someone else is going to beat up Superman? And even in Superman 2, you had 3 bad guys come in and he still beat them. Superman is Bitcoin.
Okay.
I've gotten in trouble before for saying Bitcoin is like the United States and all the altcoins are like Puerto Rico. But let's move on to issue 2. Sierra Leone holds the first ever blockchain presidential vote. Blockchain, or a large shared Excel database, has been spouted as the solution for almost every technical project, from sharing of health records to sharing of financial data. Now we see it moving into voting, with Sierra Leone holding the first ever blockchain presidential vote. While there are some questions about the manner in which they held the vote, after they collected the votes, they entered them into the blockchain, where presumably they could not be edited. Lee Camp, is blockchain voting the future of democracy?
I'd say so. Yeah, I think it is. I don't know all of the problems that can arise with it, but I think that those will be settled and figured out, and we move forward from there. And I think it is. But as we're seeing in the United States, they're not really interested. The ruling elite, and I think this is in a lot of countries, are not really interested in a legit election. So forcing them to a system that is fully legit, is fully accountable, is not an easy task. This week, Representative Tulsi Gabbard put forward a bill and this is the only bill on changing our voting system that's been put forward that I know of recently, to go back to paper ballots for the 2018 midterms, as well as have open source software for the counting machines. And I think she's gotten some support, but I don't think it's even going to come to a vote in Congress because, and she didn't mention blockchain because I don't think that, I don't know if she's educated on it or really knows that we can get there or what. But I do think we got to go back to paper ballot until we have set up the blockchain system for our voting. And so I think she's doing the right thing. But Congress doesn't have really any interest in it because they've got a completely closed off, completely closed source system that they can manipulate in about a dozen different ways. On Redacted Tonight a week ago, I covered everything that was wrong with our election in 2016 in about 20 different ways, and none of them have been dealt with. So yes, I think it should be the future of our voting system. Will we actually make it there? I hope so, but it's not going to be easy.
And it's interesting with in the United States, we don't have a national voting system. It's more from the ground up with the counties and the states deciding on their own rules. We also have a bit of an interest with the political parties where one party, I won't even say which, does better if less people vote, and the other party does better if more people vote. So there is actually a political reason to do that. It's actually a rare occurrence that I agree with President Trump on this. We should have verifiable paper ballots. I've been against the digitizing of voting the whole time. What we really need is open source tabulating machines.
And if I can just add one thing, you're talking about how we don't have one single structure for our voting, but in fact, and we don't, but the DHS or Department of Homeland Security took over under Obama, took over our voting systems, calling them critical infrastructure, which means a lot of things, but it means you basically put the election system in the hands of the Trump administration or whichever administration's in power under the Department of Homeland Security. On top of that, there are loopholes in the FOIA requests so that if they are controlling our voting, then you can't even demand to see the software. So it is actually a withdrawal from whatever transparency we had. It's a step in the wrong direction, really.
It really shouldn't be a single party or a single presidential candidate in control of the voting system. That's not acceptable. And if you really want to get me mad, get me started on gerrymandering. Tone Vase.
Yeah, it was one really interesting thing that you said, Lee, in there is that no political party and no politician, well, almost no politician, is really, really interested in having legit voting. And that's the problem. That's the real problem. It's not the blockchain. Well, if you properly use the blockchain, completely properly, it could potentially solve the problem of messing with votes after they're voted. But it can get you into more trouble in the fact that if you really trust the blockchain and that those records are immutable and they can't be changed, then no one is stopping you from putting fake votes into the system to begin with. So the blockchain is, I mean, it's a much bigger problem. It's not a technological problem to solve. I mean, there's lots of other problems. Should we or should we not identify ourselves when we vote? And that's another huge debate. I mean, if you really want a fair election, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to KYC. You're gonna have to present a real ID, and that ID needs to be checked and verified that you are a person to vote. We've had the technology for a long time to open source and make voting fair. Come on, even if I make an Excel spreadsheet and I put this Excel spreadsheet on Google as a Google Doc, where every single cell that gets that gets changed by any person gets documented and tracked when it was changed, what was changed. I mean, we have the technology, the database technology, without the blockchain to make sure that digital records, there is a full audit. I mean, I worked on Wall Street before I came here, and granted, there were always like issues, but in reality, every single thing that we ever changed in our database on our Wall Street company, it was backed up and it was audited because the CTO needed to know if someone ever anywhere in the company changed a single record, financial record, that we know exactly which employee did it. Like this kind of stuff has already existed. Putting it on a blockchain can potentially give people false hope, and then people will still cheat on the front end of the whole thing. So there's much bigger problems than that.
And I would say going back to the 2000 issue with the hanging chads and all of the butterfly ballots, you think that they would have come up with a solution. They spent all that money on the voting machines. Then we went through the whole Diebold can be hacked, voting machines can be hacked. And all the time, no one ever talks about the tabulators, the machines that count the votes. You feed it in like a Scantron, we could have a nice paper ballot. But if I own the tabulators, I own the votes. There was also some fishy stuff in 2004, just flipping the vote totals. All you have to do is change the names.
Well, like the only way to really do it is to literally put your DNA on it. Like you have a little tiny, like they have at the doctor's office. You stick your thumb on there. It literally takes your blood. It validates your DNA. And then you vote. You don't even have to leave the house. You don't have to go to a voting booth, right? You're literally using, so someone will actually have to kidnap you and like use your DNA in order to put a vote in. And this could be done from your house. And and that can go into an open source technology that gets that vote, and that's it. And no one has to know who you are because you can't say, oh, my neighbor voted for this guy, because you don't know what that neighbor's DNA is, right? So I mean that could be the future if you really want fair voting. But then people, including myself, might argue, hey, now the government has all of our DNA and they can do whatever, right? Like there is no good solution here. I'm sorry. It's just something we're going to be arguing on. Like our kids will be on the same program arguing about the same thing in like 40 years. I just don't understand how, I hope society will change, but we'll see.
Even with the DNA verification, you still can't vote from home because there's an easy man-in-the-middle attack right there. Also, on your other issue, I was going to say identification seems like a no-brainer, but unfortunately, a lot of poor people in this country simply don't have driver's licenses. They could get a free government ID. Yes, it's possible, but why would you get it? Just for voting? It's a complex issue. Let's go on. Jeffrey.
Sorry, just real quick. Yeah, a lot of poor people don't have IDs, but then on top of that, the way in some of these areas where they said, okay, now you have to have ID, is they then immediately got rid of like the DMVs in like the black areas of town, like specifically trying to make it hard for these people to get IDs, and then they're only open during work hours. So, these people have 3 jobs, they're working all the time. The idea that they're going to make it, downtown in the middle of the day to spend $50 on it's really designed to stop poor people from voting.
Yeah, and if it needs a blockchain that needs the internet, guess what's going to happen in these poor neighborhoods? The internet will suddenly go down at the worst possible time. I mean, like a lot of
it's unbelievable to see on TV the lines at the polling places. They switch to these computers, then they put less computers in the poor areas, whereas Oregon has vote by mail. Everyone votes by mail. There's a paper ballot. It's verifiable. It'd be really difficult to fix. It's a better system, but we can't seem to change anything, like you guys are saying, because there's no political reason. No one wants to count the votes. No one wants to do the civics homework of enforcing the actual system, because that's who wants a fair result when you could have a twisted one? Let's go, Jeffrey Jones.
Yeah, there's a lot of great information that's been said already, but I mean, as a bit of a crypto anarchist, I'm not super bullish on voting on the blockchain or voting in general. In my opinion, most of the democracies out there are just there for the 51% to control the 49%. And as mentioned, the identity issues are huge. The identity issues are going to be huge for decades, mostly to come, because you see, there's a few main problems with blockchain voting. Mainly, the blockchain, its main use case is for digital scarcity and immutability. It's not designed to handle identity in any way. It's designed to, have one address, maybe represent millions of people. That's a big issue. And then remember that this is the rules for the blockchain are agreed upon with a consensus, right? So Satoshi Nakamoto consensus, not any type of democracy or anything like that. And then finally, the technology. This technology, like Bitcoin, really is going to allow us to basically leapfrog the idea of democracy and allows for complete individual sovereignty. So you can have an entire nation of one person, or you can start your own nation. You'll be able to do there's all sorts of these types of initiatives that are all on the way to where we can have these blockchain services that actually directly compete with government services and do a much, much better job. And so that's the age that we're kind of going into right now. It's going to play out, of course, over the next couple of decades, but it's early days still. But that's really what I'm expecting to happen, is just to allow this technology, Bitcoin, to allow us to have much, much, much more freedom and completely, again, leapfrog the idea of democracy. You don't really need something like that when everybody is providing goods and services and everybody has a fair monetary policy, right? And a fair and robust financial system that's not controlled by just a few and things like that. So there's all sorts of different things that we can build with these new technologies, and I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, the future of government is decentralized government, not blockchain voting. That's exactly what it is. This is the movement, the meme that Bitcoin has spawned. This whole story about Sierra Leone is as comical as the Marshall Islands currency, because again, you're trusting the government of Sierra Leone, this third world horrible place, that they're going to administer this blockchain thing correctly, and that's ridiculous. Just as ridiculous as believing the Marshall Islands currency will be administered correctly, or the Venezuelan petro. So no, I don't. I think this is just a little game, a little publicity game, because in the big picture, it's taking the governments out of the voting process. That's the future.
The main issue on this whole blockchain issue seems to be the difference between a distributed blockchain and a permissioned or private blockchain. Yes, Chase Manhattan Bank could have a private blockchain, 7 servers, 7 computers. It's unalterable, but they're the only ones that could mine it. The beauty of Bitcoin is it has a token of value on top so that anyone can mine it. So it makes a truly distributed, decentralized network. These other blockchains just seem to go back to the same as a shared Excel spreadsheet. A little more uneditable, but not completely uneditable, because without the token, without the open mining, which again is a risk. If you have open mining, someone could mine more than you. Your company wouldn't own all of your health tokens or whatever they are. So they don't want those risks. They don't want those things. But let's move on to the exit question.
I actually want to thank Lee for his show and all of because you're bringing a lot of attention to the whole voting issue. And that's what's more important. It's not whether the technology is going to be blockchain or it's going to be, people will get together and do it. But bringing attention to the problem is where we need to start. And that's what's really important, not whether blockchain is going to fix it or something else.
Well, thank you guys. And thank you for doing what you do and educating people and getting the word out about, getting beyond the fiat currencies that we live under, and the big banks. I do have to run, but it's been a pleasure chatting with you guys, and I hope to talk with you again soon. Keep fighting out there, and if anybody watching out there wants to check out my show, it's called Redacted Tonight. So thanks a lot.
Yeah, it's on RT, so check that out.
Thanks, cool. Lee. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you.
Muted myself. All right, let's move on to the exit question. Blockchain vote. Is there any one thing in the voting system that you could change? If you wanted to change, what would it be? Would it be adding a blockchain, or would it just be something else? Let's go to Tone Vase.
Wow, I actually know what I would change. I would make it a national holiday, because it's ridiculous that people have to also go to work and their kids go to school on a day when you're supposed to be voting. That's what bothers me. It should even be like a 2 or a 3-day holiday or whatever it is. This is important. And it should be in the middle of the week. Let's not give people like a 4-day vacation to go away, but it should be like a Wednesday in the middle of the week, where it is a holiday, and make it and that would be my number one thing that totally frustrates me. I don't even have kids.
In Europe, they have them on Sundays, so everyone could vote.
Exactly. If we actually wanted everyone to vote, we would change it. Holiday's a good one. Jeffrey Jones.
It's a tough question. I'm just not like a super huge fan of voting and democracy and things like that. So I'm just going to go with Tone's answer.
All right, let's go to Andy. Go ahead.
I'm just going to say that the political process, at least in this country, is so sickening. I don't even want to talk about it. I got enough on my mind.
All right, well, I'm going to have a hard time choosing just one, because I want open source tabulators. That's one of my big ones. I want a verifiable paper ballot. I like Tone's holiday. That sounds good. Let's do that. And if we're going to change things, let's start doing ranked voting. 1, 2, 3, 4. So instead of getting the worst or the best, we get middle of the road candidates. There's a lot of things that we could change to make democracy and voting better. Reinstituting civics classics would be one of them. People need to understand that being a citizen is a responsibility, and you have to do work. You have to learn things. It's not just showing up and watching reality TV. But we got too political already. Let's keep moving. Did you know the World Crypto Network has a podcast and you can listen to it at worldcryptonetwork.com or on iTunes or Acast or any other program? We've got Andy Hoffman, Tone Vase, Jimmy Song, the Bitcoin Meester, and much, much more on the World Crypto Network podcast. Please subscribe today on iTunes. Moving on to issue 3, Binance hacked, or maybe not hacked. Binance's API key was apparently used to force users to buy Viacoin. After buying Viacoin, the Viacoin price went up, and the hackers would then sell their Viacoin, exiting in a brand new kind of exchange scheme. Apparently, there was a great deal of fear with the initial Binance hack announcements. People thought they might have lost all of their funds. Now it's looking like they might have lost some of their funds. Jeffrey Jones, is this the most inventive Bitcoin exchange hack we've seen yet? And will it be the last?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because, almost every major exchange allows you to have some type of API key, whether it's Bittrex, Bitfinex, whatever, Bitstamp, all the big ones allow for this type of things so we can have automated trading and so that we can use bots and things like that. So it's pretty interesting to see that this was, that this particular attack doesn't happen more. But again, it was a pretty clever social engineering attack because remember, they had to get these people's API keys. So that was step one. And so just as a warning, right? Do not, as a PSA, do not ever give away your API keys. And so actually most exchanges force you to create one first. So you have to actually create it. You don't even have one until you manually click the create button. But even then, guys, try as hard as you can. Do not give out your API keys. There are some phishing sites. There's some bot trading sites that actually require you to give you your key. Things like that. You have to be really careful with it. And again, this is mostly only for advanced users and advanced traders who need to use algorithmic trading and all these bots and things like that. So it doesn't really affect the regular person. But again, just be careful anyway. This is. These types of things aren't going to stop as long as we have funds under a centralized control. Look, I like Binance. It's a really great exchange. It doesn't allow for require KYC. It has very reasonable limits for people who don't want to go the KYC route on there. And so I know a lot of people that use it, and it was so far again a really great exchange. And I have to say that I am happy with the response to this. I'm happy with how they handled this, and I'm happy how they responded to this. So like I say, and it was kind of crazy. This exchange was actually created from an ICO, believe it or not. Of all the things to be created by an ICO, an exchange that doesn't require KYC is pretty interesting. So I hope that they continue to do their due diligence, continue to keep up their security, because it was their fail safes that did catch this type of activity that was happening in their exchange. So great job on that, guys, and keep it coming.
A quick technical question, Jeff. Are there different kinds of API keys? Because I know a lot of people have used cointracking.info to do their taxes, and they had to give the API key to let them look at their trades. Is there like a watch only one and a control your account one?
Yeah, so on every major exchange that allows you to have an API key, there are all sorts of different settings that you can manually check off. So for the most part, things like, make trades, view data, right? Things like that, read and write, your standard kind of read and write type of permissions. And so, but the thing is, the default is usually always kind of like all the permissions, unfortunately. So usually that's kind of how it is. You actually have to manually uncheck things. For the most part, that's not the same on every exchange, but there are some exchanges that actually kind of default all that stuff. And if you look at the Coinbase API, it's kind of bad as well. You get a lot of data that you may not should have. You might not should have that data. So yeah, it is a bit of an issue across exchanges. We need to harden the security on these API keys.
So those are the wrong defaults. They need to fix them and make them the right defaults. Pretend that the other users don't know as much as you, and take care of them. Andy Hoffman, your thoughts on the Binance hack?
Right. Well, if you're asking about the technical stuff, I'll defer. If you're asking is it bad news? No, it's not bad news. It's a risk you take if you want to invest in altcoins or anything. I mean, do not put things on exchanges. And if you say, well, I can only own this altcoin on exchange, well, maybe you shouldn't own the altcoin, because this is the kind of stuff that can happen. And yes, it was a very creative hack, if it was a hack. And again, there's so many things going against altcoins, particularly now after this big crash, when I think investors are going to be so much more discerning. because there's so much crap that people bought and lost their money on, and they're going to be looking at them and saying, why do I own this? They don't do anything. And on top of that, you have to worry about the top exchanges getting hacked at. So I would just say, be a Bitcoin maximalist, put your stuff in an offline hardware wallet, and this isn't even a story.
Tone Vase.
Well, if you believe if everything Binance said is true, then this hack was a total fail, right? Because the hacker was not able to withdraw the Bitcoin. So this was not a very successful hack. I mean, I think the DAO still rules them all with the hack, even though he only didn't really get him either because of the fork. But he basically, to me, the DAO is still the greatest hack of all because it exposed Ethereum for what it was, a centralized, piece of what. So I don't know what to think here, right? So obviously, it was a really good civil engineer, so not civil engineering, social engineering job in order to try and steal a bunch of Bitcoin that didn't work. But like, here's the other thing that Vortex said, in that Binance seems to have very good development and everyone loves that exchange. But like you said, it was financed by an ICO, which is a problem, right? Because some of these exchanges, even Coinbase, right? They got a lot of investment, but they have to give something back for that investment. Other exchanges don't have the kind of funding that Binance got because they were able to sell their exchange to unqualified investors. So what does that mean? That means that if the regulators don't curtail this, then that becomes the business model. No other exchange will be able to compete with Binance unless they also sell an unlicensed, unregistered security to unqualified investors. And this is the whole problem, because the next one that's going to try and compete with Binance with an ICO may just run away with all that money because there is absolutely no oversight on any of this. And this potentially shows the problem. So I'm not a fan of Binance at all because of the way it was financed and the way it was created. But the end result is, if Binance has more runway and more money than any other exchange, then yes, they can give you the fanciest tools, making the fanciest website. But I just don't know how all of this is going to end. I just don't. We'll see what happens. I don't tend to trust people that ICO, so I don't know.
Well, here's a question that I'll pose for everyone. Now that Goldman Sachs is going to be, not Circle, Goldman Sachs is buying Poloniex, it's clearly going to have an impact on all of these things, regulations, KYC, probably good for investors. Just throwing that out there.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, right? I mean, Goldman Sachs is simply an investor in Circle, and I don't know how big of an investor Goldman Sachs is in Circle. And
35%, I think.
Right, 35%. So it's very possible that Goldman Sachs, even if they wanted to shut down the deal with Poloniex, they may not. There might be a bigger shareholder in Goldman Sachs in that in the funding of Circle. So I wouldn't go as far as to associate Goldman Sachs with Poloniex. And the first thing Circle is going to do is they're going to completely KYC everything on there, and first chance they get, they can probably kick off a lot of these questionable ICOs. Like, we don't know which direction is going to go. I don't even understand why Circle would buy Poloniex. I 100% understand why Poloniex was for sale, because they want to push on all of those liabilities to someone else with bigger pockets. I don't understand why Circle bought them. Maybe that will be clear one day, but I'm pretty sure that all anonymous non-KYC trading on Poloniex, if it hasn't stopped yet, it's imminent.
And moving on to the exit question, we were talking about a little bit about this before the show. No one knows where Binance is. No one knew where BTC-E is. What's going to happen first? Will people stop trusting these bizarre, unregulated exchanges? Or will they start holding their coins on their own computers and their own hardware wallets? Jeffrey Jones.
Well, I think it's going to be a combination, right, with these distributed and decentralized exchanges that are really coming out. They will allow you to continue to hold your keys at all times and trade. So I have with the best of both worlds. So I'm really looking forward to that type of stuff. Basically everything running over the top of the Lightning Network, so that not only can we do atomic swaps, in a decentralized manner, but we can do instant atomic swaps in a decentralized manner. And so I'm, really looking forward to that. I think that's where the industry is going to move going into next year, because decentralized problems that the problems that these centralized exchanges have aren't going away. And in fact, they will continue to get worse and worse. And just real quick, a possible reason for the purchase, from Goldman Sachs is the user database. That user database might be kind of valuable as well, but they had to get some skin in the game at some point. So interesting stuff.
Yeah, I also think it was for the user database. Andy Hoffman, your thoughts?
Yes, and the exit question specifically.
Will people hold their own coins, or will they stop trusting these exchanges?
Right. Well, of course, there's going to be less trust in exchanges over time, because there's going to be more of a mindset of decentralization. And the other thing I think that this and so many other things is going to spurn is just massive technology development in wallets, be they offline or hardware or online, to the point where people are going to be having, for every one of these altcoins, the ability to store them outside of exchanges. That's only a matter of time, because and again, it's the whole thing about Bitcoin and crypto is decentralization. So I think in time we won't, as Jeffrey was saying, we're not even going to need centralized exchanges, but there's going to be a movement out of the exchanges, even while they're there, into advanced wallet technology.
All right, Tone Vase.
I remain very skeptical of decentralized exchanges. Right now, they have absolutely no volume. And one of the reasons is because people still do not trust decentralized technology. And in the few cases that they do trust decentralized technology, we have Bitcoin, where the trust is basically with the core devs, or at least the fact that there is enough of them, keeping each other in check. So I don't know how we will trust, because every other instance of decentralization, again, I take it back to the DAO. Is your decentralization going to be funded by an ERC20 token on top of Ethereum, right? Like this is the problem. There's no incentive in building a decentralized exchange, because how are you going to finance it? How are you going to get enough incentive of people to continue to volunteer building your decentralized exchange? And from the trader's perspective, if something goes wrong, who do you go to? Who do you hold accountable, right? If you're going to say, well, my decentralized exchange is going to fund itself because there'll be a fee within the decentralized exchange from your trade, where does that fee go? If that fee goes to a person, then it's not really all that decentralized, is it? Because then that person is responsible for coding your decentralized exchange. It really becomes a big chicken and egg problem. Now, in the future, with like Lightning channels and maybe some kind of multi-sigs where you can just get a hold on that Bitcoin, maybe it's something like that. Maybe the Liquid project out of Blockstream can provide security for a pooled Bitcoin that can't just be accessed by any one entity. I don't know what the solution is going to be, but it's not going to be as easy as someone is going to build a decentralized exchange.
Jeffrey Jones, more on this?
Yeah, so I want to push back on that a little bit, Tone, because I think that there is huge amount of incentive to for the ecosystem at large for somebody to create a decentralized exchange. And remember, Tone, as the price rises for Bitcoin and other cryptos, there is plenty of liquidity around. There are newly minted Bitcoin millionaires, newly minted Ethereum millionaires, and on and on. And there is a very important need for this ability. So I think that it very well could spontaneously come about, just like many other amazing things have in the past, like bulletproofs and things like that. That was kind of dead dropped in an IRC channel. And just so you know, Tone, the volume is continuing to increase on BISC. So it's not like it's like this or like straight. It has continuing to increase specifically this year, and specifically in the past couple of months. It is increasing like crazy. And there are ERC token based, decentralized exchanges. I know we don't have a whole lot of faith in those, but that will get the market used to using these types of exchanges, of holding your own funds while being able to trade. And so there are things like, again, MetaMask and 0x, that the volume is increasing steadily on these exchanges, on these decentralized exchanges. So to me, it's only a matter of time.
All right, Andy, you have more on this?
Yeah, it's funny, as Tone said, it's a chicken or egg situation. I was waiting for my turn to chime in. It's a chicken and egg situation, because again, this is, an advanced thought process to trust in a decentralized process. Because as much as we think of crypto as decentralized, most of the on ramps are centralized, and we think that, look, if we send Bitcoin to a Bcash address, yeah, that's on us. But if Kraken screws up, we feel like we can go to Kraken and get them to help us out. In this case, it's going to take a mindset change to believe that this will work. But it will work. It'll take time, though. Some things go quickly. The Lightning Network, the scaling technologies, these things are moving literally at light speed. The decentralized networks, I think, will take time. If the governments try, like if the SEC is more than just talking, or the Chinese government, if they push the issue, then the decentralized exchanges will evolve quicker. But it will take time before, in an unprovoked manner, that people will trust. But I think you look up a decade from now, there won't be centralized exchanges anymore. But I would be skeptical that it'll happen quickly. But you never know in cryptocurrency.
I'm kind of with Tone on this one. I'm not sure. There's a lot of technical problems to the decentralized exchange. There's a lot of timing involved in trading. There's also denial of service attacks. If I can block you from trading, I can trade and you can't. Now I'm at an advantage. In addition, like Tone was saying, that the money would have to go somewhere. It would have to go to the programmer, to a central point of failure, someone like the Dread Pirate Roberts, perhaps, making a lot of money, having an incentive to keep the exchange running. But at the same time, we all know what happened when they took away the Dread Pirate Roberts. Moving on to issue 4, Twitter crypto spam. Major accounts on Twitter, such as Vitalik Buterin and Charlie Lee, have noticed that almost every tweet they post gets deluged by crypto spam. It's pretty generic and even easy sounding, where it says that 0.1, send us 0.1 Ether and we'll send you 1 whole Ether. And sure, that sounds like a terrible scam to all of us, but then they also have the little bots that reply to that one and say it was a good deal, and I got some, and my mom got some, and everyone's doing so well from this scam. But they're everywhere, and they're on everything. And we told Twitter about this, and Jack even responded to Charlie Lee. Jack Dorsey, CEO of Twitter, responded to Charlie Lee, but nothing has been done. Meanwhile, DJ Booth, our friend from Australia, Flipside Bits, went out there and over the weekend made a Twitter bot that responds to this scam. Every time there's a scam message on one of these monitored accounts and some others, it will instantly respond saying, that's a scam. This person has 0 followers, but they've retweeted 500 times. Maybe you should look at this. The question is, will Twitter and YouTube do something about this spam before it gets out of control? Let's start with Andy Hoffman.
Well, it's an interesting question, because I think we all know that Twitter is the center of the social universe for cryptocurrency. And of course, the cryptocurrency is rapidly becoming one of the focal social issues of our time. I mean, when you look a decade from now, it's going to dominate. And so Twitter has a major opportunity here to build upon that. And if they want to neglect this opportunity when they have this captive audience of cryptocurrency enthusiasts by doing nothing about it, then it'll go somewhere else. For all you know, it'll be Steemit, or someone else that hasn't come around yet, kind of like Facebook came late on in the deal. It's up to Twitter. Twitter can be the center, the profit center of cryptocurrency social information in the future, or they can just let themselves be MySpace. It's up to them.
Tone Vase.
Yeah, so I had this problem as well. I mean, this was happening to my, there goes my phone. This was happening to my Twitter as well. And in fact, I was actually informed the reason why I got banned from Twitter is because I kept blocking all of these things. So all of these bots that were showing up under my tweets, I would then go and block all of them. And that seems to be, that somehow triggered something on Twitter's end that referred to me as the bot because I kept blocking bots. This also plagued a lot of other people in crypto, and that's how we got our account suspended for like 24 hours, which was absolutely crazy. But yeah, I'm having this problem on this bots thing isn't even my biggest problem right now. My problem is people that are not bots, that are actually pretending to be us on Twitter, on YouTube, and the right now it's plaguing my Telegram account. There is a fake tone vase on Telegram that are texting all of these ICO projects and other projects in the space, pretending to be me and selling them time slots on my YouTube channel. So for up to 30 minutes, it's $1,000. For up to an hour, it's $1,500. And then these ICOs emailing me, telling me how they have fallen for the scam. Now, I don't really know what to say to that, because, like, I'm sorry, that wasn't me. But like, it's a scammer scamming a scammer. It's like getting really weird. Someone sent me a screenshot from a Telegram group that said, because someone that was in this Telegram group of 4,000 people, I had no idea it was 4,000, but someone I had met sent me a screenshot saying, "Hey, Tone, is this you in my Telegram group?" And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, "No, that's not me." This guy is like offering that Telegram group, like an interview on my YouTube channel. So I go into the I go into the Telegram group chat, and I see that it's 4,000 people, and I'm like, "Oh my God, I don't want these people to get scammed by a fake tone vase." So I start explaining to the 4,000 people in this group that that's a fake, not to fall for the scam. But the Telegram group was a post IPO. It's like a group after a pre-IPO for like a total scam of its own. So now I end up in this giant argument with the admins of this Telegram group and the creators of the ICO. And I was like, wait, okay, so who's going to get banned first? The fake toad vase or the real toad vase? Because at the end, I just left that group saying, you know what? The fake tone vase belongs in here. I obviously don't. So it was just like completely crazy.
Additionally, on the accounts getting banned, the Kraken support bot was also banned for warning people about these scams. Twitter just can't seem to get it right. Jeffrey Jones.
Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate. Especially since, crypto Twitter is like Andy said, kind of the epicenter of everything to do with crypto. But first, just a big shout out to DJ Booth. Like, this is just a really great idea for him to do. This is we super appreciate it. Thank you so much for doing this. This will help some people, and even if it only helps one person, like, it was still successful. So thank you so much for that. He does have limited requests on that API because he's using, I believe, the free version. So you can't, just blanket all of Twitter or anything like that. Only, I believe, a few thousand at a time, things like that. So he's a bit throttled there, but still, I believe that it is helping. And because these scams are increasing, they are. I mean, every single Bitfinex post, every single major post from any major crypto Twitter account is now seeing this type of stuff, and it is absolutely mind-boggling. The amount of work that these scammers are doing. Again, as Tone said, they were replying, and then they're replying to replies. I mean, the thread can get up to like 20 people deep from all of these different bots just on from that one tweet that says, "Hey, send your money here." So it gets really crazy and complicated. But still, after all of that, like, it really, as a developer, I can picture the algorithm that the search query that you could use to search these out, and it doesn't seem that complicated. It doesn't seem that complicated to look and see, okay, watch these, certain accounts. If there's anything that with a similar that are posts with a similar name, right? Remove those. I mean, it can be done. As DJ Booth has done, he does basically he did that same thing, right? He just put in a couple of search parameters and was able to identify these bots. And so this is not a difficult thing for Twitter to do. I really hope they get their crap together and get something like this done, because it is possible. It is possible, and we really, really desperately need it, and it's only going to increase even more if this is not stopped. And just one kind of side note from all of this crazy week of banning all these these accounts, the @Bitcoin account did get banned for a couple days, so that was at least one positive, entertaining thing that kind of came out of it all. But other than that, we just hope that Twitter really gets their crap together, and this is a really, really important thing for the Bitcoin and crypto community at large.
Hey, can I second something you said? It really should not be hard for Twitter and YouTube, a little harder for Telegram, but for Twitter and YouTube, it really should not be difficult for them to find accounts popping up that have an identical picture to an account with a history and a standing and the same display name as the account with a standing and a history. It really should not be that difficult to write that. I'm sorry, you are centralized tech companies. You should protect your high volume users before they do go somewhere else.
And that works well into the exit question. YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter have done such a good job recently fighting spam and fighting bullying and hate speech. They've added a lot of settings you can report people. Why are they not focused on cryptocurrency? Do they know that this is costing people money? Will Twitter and YouTube come around in 6 weeks, 6 months, or never? They just don't care. Andy Hoffman.
Well, I think it's for the same reason that so many of the people in the world, including so many people on Wall Street, haven't yet considered Bitcoin when it's so obvious that what it's doing is having an impact. And oh yeah, it's been the best investment on the planet for the past decade, but eventually they'll come around. And as for Google and Twitter, I would think they will come around quicker than others because they do have boards of directors. They are tech people. And at some point, someone will turn the light on in their head and say, we got to pursue this market. And if they don't, someone else will.
Tone Vase.
Yeah, can I just I'm sorry, what was the specific question again?
Will they fix it in 6 weeks, 6 months, or never?
I don't think so, because it doesn't look like they're going. They're not on the right track of fixing it, because here's why. I constantly deal with spam and scammy comments on my YouTube channel. And the simplest thing for me to do is to remove it, because I can remove it with one click. In order for me to report it, I got to make like 3 clicks. And that's really, really annoying. Okay. So it's like, I want to report, hate speech. They make me write a freaking article as to what it is, right? Like, no, I want to report it. You guys do that. Put it through your bot. Look for keywords. Like, I want to be able to have more options to report something in a specific way. Like on Twitter, for example, when someone is pretending to be me, it's almost impossible for me to report them because they're asking me for my ID and I have to upload pictures and all this stuff. It's very easy for someone else to report somebody impersonating me. It's very difficult for me to report someone impersonating me. I don't know what their reason is for doing that, but they have made it so complicated to actually report what you want that I don't see this thing going forward anytime soon. I'm still seeing it going backwards.
I also question whether YouTube actually uses their spam filtering tools. Like you're saying, it takes 3 clicks to report someone as spam. I see messages with the same message over and over again. I see messages with links, obvious links, and YouTube is not auto flagging them. I don't know what happened. Yeah.
And is it just me, or did they like remove the banning feature from live chat? You now can only time them out.
I haven't noticed that. I thought you could still ban them, but
double check that. I mean, like, you have the live chat now. Like, I think that they continue to make it harder and harder to report scams and to report, this stuff, not easier. So that's what really bothers me. And if I report someone for spamming, I have to do it on every single reply to every other message within YouTube. Like, instead of like, come on, I just called this guy out for spamming. Shouldn't you automatically know that it's all of his comments? Like, it's really bad. Like, I don't think they're going in the right direction at all.
Jeffrey Jones, 6 weeks, 6 months, or never?
Well, what you guys are mostly describing is UI issues, right? It's a little bit different. You've got to separate the UI issues with the actual algorithmic issues. And so I have confidence that they will, at least Twitter. Now, YouTube, that's a different story. But Twitter, I have confidence that they're going to do something, because even if all they have to really do is start with verified accounts with 20,000 followers or higher, if they only did that, or even 40,000 followers or higher, if they only did that, that would just cut out a huge swath of this, of these scammers accounts that they can scam. And again, it's so easy to actually search. Again, verify, look at the image, check. I mean, it's not a difficult thing to do. I think it's possible. I think they're going to do it, and I think they're going to crack down. But again, I wish that there were fewer clicks to do these things. For example, on the YouTube, when I see a clear, blatant spam or ICO advertisements, I just right-click hide user, right, which bans the user. so they can never come back. It is 2 clicks, right? I wish it was 1 click, but you know, the algorithms aren't gonna, the spamming algorithms aren't really gonna improve too much over the next couple of years or such, but the ability to take scams down will continue to improve, in my opinion. So for example, I don't think that they're going to do any better of taking down hate speech on Twitter, right? But I do think that they can do something about these freaking crypto scams, because again, there's going to be they have to have an incentive to do it, and there's people losing money, like probably by the hundreds of thousands of dollars, from these bots or more, right? So I think that Jack is going to, because remember, I don't know if you guys know, but Jack is a fan of Bitcoin, guys. Like, right? He is a fan of the crypto community, so he sees what's going on and things like that, and so I think that he'll definitely do something with this, because again, crypto Twitter is the most important community in crypto right now. It's the biggest, not the most important, but it's the biggest, and so you really gotta try to cater to that and try to cut down the scams.
All right, let's move on to predictions or story of the week. Andy Hoffman, are you ready with a prediction or story of the week?
Oh, well, I have an obvious thing to talk about, and that's going to be the big Denver meetup on April 25th, which will be a World Crypto Network event. Vortex will be there. I will be there. Adam Meister will be there. Mike Krieger. Jack Mellors will be there. And I have heard that there's going to be 1 or possibly 2 other very high-profile Bitcoiners there. We will have the details out soon. It'll be April 25th, and it will be an absolutely amazing event. I look forward to it.
And that's in Denver, Colorado?
Yep.
All right. Tone Vase, a prediction or story of the week.
Sure. Hey, Andy, tell Michael I said hi. I've never actually met him in person, but we've definitely communicated.
Well, why don't you come, Tone?
I can't. I'm in Russia.
Okay,
I'm speaking at a conference in Russia, so it's a little complicated. Unfortunately, the time did not work out. Otherwise, I would have strongly considered it. But yeah, in fact, like Liberty Life Trail, I actually was watching his website. I'm like, hey, I actually, it's like the same 1990 style website that he used to have. I'm sure he redid it. So it's like my website is a bit of a tribute to his. But okay, so I'm looking at the price of Bitcoin right now, and I really like what I see. I really like this reversal candle. Thank God we only had 4 candles down, and the way this candle has ended, it's really only 3 candles down. So I do like it. Now we have lots of resistance back above, so we have to slowly get through this resistance. This is a very difficult trading period right now. If you're a hodler, I mean, you're fine. If you're an active trader, you're just in the middle of nowhere. You have the 50-day approaching the 200-day. The 200 is support. The 50 is resistance. You're flirting with this trend line. But I really like this reversal hammer candle. Now, don't get fooled by the giant red volume here. The difference between this volume spike being red and green is literally a matter of a few dollars. And guess what? If I zoom in on this, right, basically right now, you can see how this green candle is almost above the red body. So that means if we go up, I don't know, another 30, 40 bucks in the next minute, the difference between this giant red volume spike being red and green is literally the difference of 5 minutes in a 24-hour day. So to me, this volume spike is actually not red. It's virtually green because I like the fact that it bounced so strongly. Now, I would still want to see the price of Bitcoin rally above 9,500 over the next 24 hours and close there. And then I will be significantly more optimistic. And this is this is pretty much the perfect place to create a low that does not put the $6,000 low in jeopardy. Because if we closed in the vicinity, if we went as low as the $6,000 low, I would have been a lot more bearish Bitcoin than I am now. I'm still not fully bullish yet, but the grassroots to go bullish are coming back, though I would wait for the price to rally above 9,500.
All right. Thanks, Tone. And Jeffrey Jones, a prediction or story of the week.
Oh, Tone, we all know red candles are scams. All right, let's see here. So yeah, I just got a second Andy's statement there, you guys. You gotta come down and check out the World Crypto Network crew. There's gonna be so many people there at Denver, Colorado, April 25th. Come see us. Come check us out. You guys can check out the information on my website, the One Vortex. I have a link there, and I'm sure that we have a link on Andy's website as well somewhere. So you guys got to come down and check that. I'm really, really, really excited about that.
It's actually Vortex. It's actually Boulder Blockchain that's sponsoring it. So that's where the details will be. But of course, as soon as we have them finalized, we'll market them like crazy. So.
Yep. So Boulder Blockchain guys on Meetup. So definitely check that out, and I hope you guys can make it down. As far as my story here, well, first, real quick too, I'm quite curious. I have to agree with Tone on this reversal candle. I mean, this really is looking nice. I really want to see how the weekly candle ends to see if we're going to be bullish next week. But yeah, very interesting stuff, guys. I'm really happy about this reversal candle. But my story of the week is going to be something hilarious just happened today. So it's not really a story maybe of the week, but story of today, because this is just hilarious, guys. I don't know if you caught it, but the PAC coin took number 3 on market cap today, and it was absolutely hilarious. You guys got to see this because I've tweeted it out. There's screenshots of it.
What the hell is a PAC coin?
So the PAC token, Tone,
2.5 trillion units,
2.7 trillion units. They were all a tenth of a penny, and because there was just about 30 Bitcoin in volume, boom, it had a $38 billion market cap. And took number 3 on CoinMarketCap for a few hours there today. So I just wanted to bring this up to again demonstrate, guys, how market cap is completely gamed at this point. It is absolutely ridiculous. If you can print trillions of tokens and then buy one token for $1, now you got trillions of dollars in market cap. It's just absolutely ridiculous. So just keep that in mind, guys, when you're trying to evaluate these tokens. When you look at this craziness like Ripple, it's not worth billions. It says it's worth billions, but I assure you, it's not worth billions, people. It's really not. And we're going to see a bunch of these tokens, start really getting affected when Bitcoin starts to roar this year and into next year. And of course, the halving. And that's my story of the day.
All right. And my story of the week is that I'm in Las Vegas. You can see the MGM Grand behind me because I'm in the MGM Grand. And I'm only going to be here a couple of days, but I hope to see everybody. We're going to try to do a very small meetup on Tuesday. Probably Tuesday around 7 o'clock in a bar. Maybe we can find a Bitcoin type location or something good like that. But I'll be putting the details out on the Mad Bitcoins Twitter account. So if you are in the Vegas area, we're going to be doing a meetup. So it'd be great to see everybody there. Just having a good time here. I went to the Blue Man group last night. I'd never seen anything like that. It was very creative and colorful and just very different. Very different show. So it's fun to every once in a while take a vacation, even though the price of Bitcoin is not making it a great vacation. But hopefully we'll be fine and it'll all turn around. So thanks so much for watching. We'll be back next week. Be sure to check out the Bitcoin News Show this Sunday with the Vortex right here. We've got the Tone Vase Show on the audio podcast. Be sure to subscribe, World Crypto Network audio podcast. And Andy's been doing almost daily audio blogs right here on the World Crypto Network. You can subscribe below. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time. Oh, and also thanks to Lee Camp from Redacted Tonight for being on the show from RT. He's not here now, but thank you, Lee. And Max Kaiser, where are you? Do you have some free time on a Friday? We'd love to have you, Max. I know you're very bombastic, and we love your opinion. We want to see
Also, real quick, Slush is going to be on the show this Sunday, guys. So check out the Bitcoin News Show on the World Crypto Network Sunday at 12 o'clock. Pacific. We're going to have Slush, the original freaking creator of mining pools, creator of Trezor. Slush the man will be there.
That's great. Good stuff. Slush is great. We got to meet him in Prague. Tone and I interviewed him. But thanks so much for watching. Until next time, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.